Welcome to the continuing adventures of the monad. We have had a fairly comprehensive look at Hylozoics as a concept and a system of investigation. As the whole series of these presentations are focused on the Hylozoic approach to understanding our reality, it was considered a good investment in time to delineate exactly what Hylozoic stands for. When you present an idea to someone else, on what basis do you qualify what you are saying? So-called esoteric literature is replete with authors who inform us that what they are saying is coming directly from the mouths of some master or an intergalactic high council. Lawrence clearly states that esoteric work does not need to and should not, as a matter of principle, invoke any authority whatsoever. A disciple does not talk about their master. They are not allowed to. So when you find that this is being done, this should raise a red flag in your mind. Sometimes you may get an oblique reference in a text, and from this you may infer, though it is not stated, that this could be the utterance of the writer's master. Lawrence often quotes Master DK, but this master's thoughts are already in print. However, he also often says, "A master once said." This is what I call an oblique reference. We must remember that Hylozoic starts from the matter perspective. Most knowledge orders disregard the matter aspect and concentrate on the consciousness aspect instead. This is taking a subjective rather than an objective view of life. This has led to these knowledge orders regarding matter as either being irrelevant or negative in some way. This is unfortunate, as matter is the only objective truth we have in our lives. Disregard that, and you have really thrown the baby out with the bathwater. Coming into incarnation and then deciding to live in a cave because nothing you see is real is just plain silly. In defense of silliness, we all have incarnations that involve doing precisely this as we progress through our mystic phase of consciousness development. What consciousness-based knowledge orders do is present whole triads and envelopes as individual consciousnesses, using names that confuse Hylozoicians. As a student delves into esoterics, they come to realize that the matter aspect is the most efficient way to see the basis of an explanation. It is possible to understand why subjectively focused students have tried to discard the matter aspect. Society is too easily hypnotized by matter and materialism, considering it the only tangible reality and overvaluing it. These materialists have failed to realize that the meaning of existence is consciousness development, and it is through the right use of energy that we can realize our goals. So, what is the point of matter then? It exists as a carrier of consciousness and a visible demonstration of energy. It takes us back to the central theme of the Holy Trinity. Hylozoics explores the consciousness aspect in connection to the effect it has on matter. This results in the understanding that different kinds of consciousness, primary, secondary, tertiary, and quaternary, are associated with different kinds of matter. However, the basis of it all is the monad, the smallest unit of matter. Mystics who are emotionally focused, according to Lawrence, detest clarity because it prevents their imagination from expanding into infinitude. The mystic wants to experience the feelings of boundlessness, omniscience, omnipotence. These feelings occur as the mystic's consciousness touches the outer boundaries of plane 46, the plane of unity consciousness. In fairness, the disciple finds it easier to acquire higher kinds of consciousness by constructing a paradigm that everything is just consciousness. It should be noted that as monads in the fifth kingdom of nature prepared themselves to move to the sixth kingdom, consciousness is replaced in importance by the motion aspect, also called the will or energy aspect. Everything now for the monad consists of energy, and they primarily use this force. This is impossible for us to get the remotest idea of what this must mean. The study of Hylozoics is a systematic way of gaining knowledge. Eventually, a disciple gains access to causal consciousness, and this allows them to know the facts that they are observing. This does not stop them from checking with the planetary hierarchy to see if they've got the right end of the stick. It must be useful having access to an authoritative Wikipedia. Lawrence makes a very salient point when he informs us that a real esoterician, unlike occultists, and he names Rudolf Steiner as an example, realize that the mental world is a chaos of fiction and the emotional world is a chaos of illusions. There are no criteria for reality in these worlds. Why is this? Because all material reality in these worlds is a result of consciousness activity. We quite literally dream up what we are seeing. The exception to this situation is the presence of mental and emotional matter that exists through physical reality. What is the net outcome of the fact that our thoughts and emotions are either fictitious or illusional? It means that when we come up with what we think is going on, in what could be termed the spiritual realms, let's call it a superphysical reality, we are wrong in our conclusions 99 times out of 100. Lawrence calls this living in appearance. The esoterician, on the other hand, seeks the world of reality and realizes that using the faculties at their disposal, they are not able to ascertain this information. It has to be supplied to them. Knowledge is unreliable if it relies on emotional or mental matter, and their corresponding energies for an explanation. Knowledge becomes possible in the causal realms. Here, reality content of the ideas is an exact representation of a permanent reality. We have discussed the 4 stages of mental development: deductive, associated, conceptual, and universal. The mental nature of Hylozoics appeals to someone who functions through conceptual, also described as perspective thinking. This is found on the subplane 47.5. Common sense now prevails, along with critical reasoning. The constructive urges found on subplanes 47.6 and 47.7 are gone. Switching to the human development scale, only those who are in the 3 cultured stage have access to the lowest type of causal consciousness, 47.3. The challenge is recognizing that the information you are receiving is coming from the causal plane rather than the higher mental plane, 47.4. As we have already discussed, Hylozoics is a system, not a reality, and as such, it appeals to those who are blessed with common sense, 47.5. Hylozoics is not suitable for monads at the stage of the mystic, 48.3, or that of the saint, 48.2. There is no shortcut to enlightenment. Consciousness development proceeds slowly, step by step. Something we need to bear in mind is that every ideology is anchored in a powerful thought form, which is itself an elemental, a collection of elementary essences. This is constructed by a believer, and it is therefore very difficult to dismantle. Such thought forms serve as deities and underpin the very essence of the devotee's life. These elemental thought forms can be collectively constructed and are then called egregores. In contrast, Hylozoics is a mental system that strives to develop causal consciousness and intuition. This guides you towards the Platonic world of ideas. This is true reality and can be ascertained by one who can see. It may shock you to know that some ask the question whether humanity has already been given too much knowledge. By knowledge, here I mean technical knowledge. We may think we come up with our bright ideas. If you have been paying attention to the presentation so far, you will realize that we can gain nothing of value from our mental or emotional envelopes. Anything substantive has to come from the world of causal ideas. On a technical level, this information is given to us by specialized devas, working on the fifth ray. Many in the hierarchy consider that this limit has already been passed. The knowledge we now possess passes the limits of the knowledge of reality that corresponds to the developmental stage we have attained. With knowledge comes responsibility. How responsible have we been with nuclear energy? Humanity has exceeded its limits twice before, in the Lemurian and the Atlantean root races. Maya means self-blinding and represents two of these three wise monkeys, no see, no hear. Humanity does not acknowledge its immanent divinity, the divine in humanity, our participation in total cosmic consciousness, the fact that we are all one. On that depressing note, I will leave it here for today. There is one more presentation to complete the series on Hylozoics, starting with the risks of esoteric studies. See you next time. Thank you.